Well, on a weekend where there were goals aplenty, there were also postponements and cancellations because of the heat. Well, one game went ahead in the pouring rain. Don't you just love the Ninja A-League? It is so fantastic. You get every bit of weather and just cataclysmic emotions wrapped into one, and sometimes you might even get blackouts, delaying the start of a game's second half, which happened to be one of the highest goal-scoring games of the weekend as well. To wrap up all the action, joining myself, Poletti, as always, is Burke and Burke. Long live the dub, right?
Yeah. Long may she reign. Just the silliest weekend of football. And it was so good. I enjoyed every second of it that I got to see.
Indeed, I did as well. It was, honestly, words can't even begin to describe what happened this weekend, but we'll attempt to do so over the course of the next hour or so. But as always, Burke, we start with our big storyline of the week, and as always, you have the floor.
Yeah, I do love being given the floor first because it does give me the opportunity to just kind of yank the rug out from everyone and anyone else. But I would probably say my main storyline would be the Sydney Wellington game. Not really from Sydney's perspective, though, even though it's like their fourth win of the season and they finally pried themselves off the bottom of the table. But more so because now Wellington are they're really cutting it fine if they want to make finals. And it was a very interesting game, that one.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Sydney took the lead through Matty Caspers very deep in first half stoppage time. A game which took place in over 30-degree heat, I might add, on, as you rightly give the thumbs down, while a game across town, suffering from the same heat wave, got postponed in part because it was a double header. Boo. Death to double headers. I will die on this hill. As this game went ahead with 2 drinks breaks, and it looked every bit of a game that went ahead with 2 drinks breaks. It was slow, it was lethargic, it was calculated, it wasn't the greatest game of football you're ever going to see, but it was entertaining. Mania Elliott then leveled it in the 75th minute. Tiana Jaber picked up her second yellow card in the 85th to send Wellington down to 10. Princess Sabini picking up a winner in the 98th minute. A very, very late finish in that one to give Sydney, as you pointed out, Burke, just their 4th win of the season. I didn't even know where to start with this one. This was bonkers. This was hot. It was... Yeah, actually, I think I'll start with the yellow card, or the red card for Tiana Jaber. Look, I thought that first yellow card was incredibly, incredibly soft. Second one, well deserved. You see those challenges most games in football, and the players usually have no objections going into the book. But Burke, I don't know about your opinion, but yeah, I thought that first yellow card was really soft in this game. Probably should have finished 11v11.
Yeah, I feel the same. I mean, the second challenge was definitely a yellow. You're not getting away or around or off for that one. But the first one, yeah, I could understand it, but it didn't feel right that it should have been given. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, like I said, I don't think it should have. Paul Temple didn't think that it should have either. I spoke to him after the game. We talked about that incident. We talked about Wellington looking ahead to the Central Coast next week, who they've never beaten at home, or who they've never beaten in the Mariners' short history. But he did know that all of those games have taken place in Sydney. And I also spoke to him about Mibe Tanaka, and we'll play that audio for you now.
Very tough loss at the end, heartbreaking. How do you even begin to sum that up?
Yeah, pretty heartbreaking, obviously, to lose like that. Look, I thought we put so much into the game and deserved a lot more. I think probably deserved 3 points on the balance of play, chances created, possession, all of that. But when we were really on top and we scored, like we probably had some really good chances before that and after that where we should have put the game to bed. And then, yeah, look, the red card changes the way that you approach it. And I was proud that we kept going to try and get a goal, and we had some nice moments, but I was pretty disappointed with our maturity at the end there. Just like to get sucker punched like that was pretty gutting.
The red card probably doesn't make it easier. Look, I'm not going to put words in your mouth here, but like for me, I thought the first yellow card was soft, and to then concede what is ultimately a deserved yellow card, but to have it result in that's got to hurt, right?
Oh, of course. Like, look, there's so many fouls in the game. There's 2 arguably penalties for us where I thought the keeper hit Fergie after Fergie touched the ball round her twice. We've got referees missing that stuff, but we're giving red cards for that, which is just ridiculous. It's barely a yellow card. I think most mature referees would have a word with people there and just kind of settle it down. So, I was pretty disappointed with how that was handled, and just thought we were a bit hard done by with that again. Seems to be we're on the bad end of the stick with that stuff. But look, ultimately that just made the last 20 minutes like a real kind of different dynamic when clearly we were on top and we looked like the most likely team.
As you said, team looked most likely to score. You really put the pressure on once the red card occurred. What is it about this side that just seems to perform when their backs are against the wall?
Look, I'm proud of the way that we're fighting in these moments, and you can't fault the work ethic and the effort that they put in. But from a maturity point of view, like I thought we handled certain parts that 10 men with like poorly. Our shape was all over the place, and I felt like we weren't quite committed to getting a point, which I thought was the least that we had to get coming out of here, and coming away with nothing is just a bit soul destroying, really.
4 games left. Obviously, it's not today's result hasn't made it any easier. It's Central Coast up next, team who Wellington have struggled against in its history. Yeah. How do you go about getting the 3 points at home next week?
Well, I just said to them at the end, like when she puts that ball in the net in the 97th minute, like the feeling of like that feeling that you get when that happens, like you got a bottle that up and turn it into fuel. That we've struggled against the Mariners, as you say, but we've never played them in Wellington. We've always played them in Sydney, the 3 games so far. So different kettle of fish at home for us in Wellington. They're struggling for form as well at the moment. So it's going to be a battle royale, right? And it's so important that we win next week. I think if we don't win next week, then we're probably ruling ourselves out the race, right? So we've got to kind of respond and get the 3 points.
How do you draw that message into the team in training throughout the week? Is it just as simple as saying those words, or is it something else that you do? Yeah,
look, we're not shying away from the situation or trying to paint it in a different light or go around the truth. Like the girls know, like it's kind of do or die now, and we really needed something tonight, and we threw a point away at the end. That one's gonna, we're gonna look back at that probably and regret how we handled that situation. But all we can do now is learn from that and just use it as fuel. We've got some big results in us. This team is good enough to beat anybody. There's no reason why we can't win the last 4 games in a row, and if we do that, we probably do enough to get in the 6.
And then just lastly, on Mibe Tanaka, start of the season like house on fire, finally gets a first goal last week, but for the last couple of months, she's sort of been in and out of the lineup, coming off the bench and whatnot. What is, she gets a goal last week, almost scores again tonight. What does she have to do to sort of get back in the starting 11?
It's just consistency. I think, like she played a full season of NPL Victoria and then came in with us, and I think we saw around that Christmas time, like energy start to drop. She's away from home, so it was good after the Perth game. She got a chance to go back to Japan, see her family, regenerate for a week, and just come back with a bit more energy and renewed kind of, I guess, what we were seeing at the start of the season, So that's great for us to have that option. And if she keeps producing like good moments, then she'll play more minutes.
No, thanks, Paul. Tough luck on the loss and best luck next week.
Cheers.
Temple is always very well spoken, Burke, and very much well spoken again this time, despite the defeat. I thought what he had to say about Mibe Tanaka was quite interesting. That You know, just someone who started the season off like a house on fire and has sort of found her way in and out of the lineup in recent weeks, which has been pointed out by one of our listeners, Almost Clutch. Um, you know, and it might have just been as simple as a little case of homesickness.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, because she would have spent a lot of time in Australia, not as much time in New Zealand, and obviously she's not from here originally. So fair enough. I mean, that stuff can be really tricky to manage, especially if you're living in a country that doesn't speak your first language as its predominant language. Um, yeah, English is a stupid language anyway. It doesn't make any sense. So, but I think Tanaka's been a really great player for Wellington, and I do hope that we're on sort of a I think I'd like to think we're on a bit of a streak of seeing her again because she does seem to bring something different to Wellington, and I feel like when I watch them, I'm expecting something different from them when she plays. So I would like to see more of her, and I hope we're at the start of seeing much more of her.
I mean, she almost scored for the Phoenix in this one. You know, they could have made it 2 goals in 2 weeks. Just, you know, she's just, as you said, very dynamic. She brings something different that, you know, you don't see a lot of in this league, which seems weird to say given the amount of dynamic and different sort of players that we have in this wonderful league. But, you know, to be able to do something like that in a league that's full of it is actually rather special. Look, the Phoenix, obviously, 4 games to go. They're a bit outside of, like, they're sitting in eighth now. Sitting in eighth. They're 2 points outside of the six. It's a real 6-pointer this week against the Mariners. I mean, if they're going to do it, they need to get 3 points this weekend, right?
Yeah, and I think there's no better place for them to do it than at home at Poletti Park. Sorry, I always struggle to say that the name of the stadium, but yeah, they have a really good record at home, and provided there are no game interruptions from anyone's dogs or anything, yeah, I think they'd be well on to get all 3 points, especially if they kind of take what sort of average hand they were dealt in this game and use that to kind of power them through.
Yeah, no Tiana Jaber, though. She's so crucial to the back line. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have for Wellington?
Yeah, I think that will affect them quite a bit because she's been quite a stalwart for them. So they will probably look a little different. Um, yeah. I don't know how much it'll affect them in terms of their desire to win. I don't think that'll change. If anything, they might want it more. Um, but yeah, I think they'll look a bit different without her as well.
Yeah, I think they will as well, but hopefully that works in favour of Wellington, and that, you know, it might hurt the Mariners trying to do a little bit of scouting if they don't know who exactly is going to make up the back line. Might make it a little bit harder to break down. On the flip side of this game, so for Sydney FC, it was their home game during the Pride celebrations. We've talked about it. This was originally supposed to be a doubleheader, ended up going ahead. I said this at the time. This game was originally supposed to be 7:45 p.m. I saw no reason why this had to be moved forward to 5 p.m. with the change in venue and whatnot. Clearly, someone who's getting paid a lot more than me thought that it needed to be brought forward to a ridiculous time, which was in the middle of an unseasonably hot heat wave in Sydney. You know, 2 drinks breaks. I mean, I don't know. And then you top that off with the fact for Sydney FC, they're wearing predominantly black kits. You know, their one-off Unity kit. It just doesn't make it any easier to play football, does it, work?
No, no, I wouldn't have even wanted to have gone outside, even in like color appropriate clothing for this weather, let alone wearing the kits that Sydney were in, which did look very nice on the stream. But yeah, definitely we're not helping them. And I think having 2 drinks breaks in a game is insane. I'm sorry. Say what you like about this league being, a summer league. I don't really care. I don't think like if it was any other sort of work environment, you wouldn't be doing this because it'd be like I feel like it should be a violation of, I don't know, OSHA, whatever it is, workers' rights, something like that. Where's the union? Someone call the players' union. Uh, that we can't continue like this. I'm sorry. There was a news story I saw just recently about someone who was playing cricket and actually passed away because because the heat was so bad they ended up getting like heat stroke and didn't survive it. We don't need to do this. It's insane. It's a disservice to the players because they're putting themselves at risk, and it's a disservice to the fans who have to watch a game that's not going to be played as well as it could or should be.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You know who else agrees with you, Burke? Abby
Who?
Lemon agrees with you.
What?
And
Crazy.
we will.
Someone
I spoke.
someone
I
that was
spoke to her-
wearing that kit that agreed? Unbelievable stuff.
And I spoke with Abby after the game, and we'll play that audio for you now.
Congratulations on the win, Abby. How's it feel after that one?
Oh, it feels great. I think it was a long time coming. We've been so close for so long. So, yeah, I'm just happy we could do it today in front of a home crowd.
They're turning out. You probably spent just about 20 minutes with them after the game. They're just singing your praises. It must be a good feeling, yeah?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, they come week in, week out, whether we win, lose or draw. So, I really wanted to get the 3 points again today for all of the fans that keep coming back and supporting us.
You have a very attacking mindset, and that sort of showed with how high that you get up the pitch as a left back. To put the winner through there for Princess Sabini, what's that like?
It felt really good. I knew she'd be there. It was so close down to the end, so I thought I'd just run forward and give it a go. I love playing up top. My position I began out playing was winger, so yeah, I love getting up top if I can.
What's it like having to play as a left back, knowing that you just have those attacking instincts, that you do such a good job up front, whether it be for Sydney FC, whether it be in the NPL or anywhere else?
It's good. I think it's a huge asset that I've had to pick up and had to learn a lot of things defensively, and I'm still learning a lot. So I think it's just benefiting me. Just figuring out both positions and trying to get as solid as I can in both. I think it'll only benefit me going forward.
Is being an attacker something you'd like to do more under Ante Juric? Have you had those conversations with him?
Well, when I started here, I started playing as a winger, so he knows I can attack. So I don't really care. I can attack from defence. I can attack from up top. That's just how I'm always going to play.
Last year, you girls got to wear the rainbow scrunchies. This year, you get your own kit. You talked last year about how it was good to do something as a team. What's it like to have the club back that up this year?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I think you can really see the energy and all the support here today. So to have a day where we can wear a Pride jersey and show our club values is really important. And yeah, it feels really special.
Have you promised that kit to anyone else? As I know you guys get 2 match worn. I know one's going up for auction. Have you promised the second one to anyone else, or do you get to keep it yourself?
Oh, I definitely would have kept it. We only have one, and this one's going up for auction. So get onto the foundation website and buy it.
Obviously, this game was played in immense heat, something that was probably not ideal. We saw the Wanderers game get postponed because of the heat. Is a later kickoff something that you would have liked to have seen today?
100%. I think it was meant to be later. I think there were some things because it was meant to be a double header. I think later kickoffs are definitely important, and I think games should keep getting pushed a bit later into the afternoon, just so we can avoid the heat as well, so it can be a more flowing game.
How do you go about doing that? Is it talking to the club? Is it talking to the PFA to talk to the league?
I think it's something everyone can express to the PFA, who then goes to the league on our behalf. And there has been a difference from, every season you can see that there have been improvements. So it's just about, trying to improve upon them every year.
Last year you were with UNSW in the NPL, banging them in for fun. I don't know if you've been I don't know where you're going this year, if you're going back to UNSW or not, but the start of the season with a win, how good is that to see that they've just carried on, what you all started last year and their first year in the comp?
Yeah, it's great to see, especially one of the longer term players, Chloe, getting a hat trick. It was really cool, and I'm keen to see all of those girls again soon.
So you're going back to UNSW?
I haven't made a final decision, but regardless, I love that club and I love those girls. So it's good to see them doing well, and hopefully they can have a really good season again in NPL1.
Oh, wherever you end up, I'm sure you'll keep sticking them in the back of the net. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
I mean, obviously Abby Lemon, she spoke about the heat and having an impact on the game there. But I mean, I thought perhaps one of the more disappointing aspects, which, as you can tell by the question that I asked, and I got completely wrong, they only got one kit, Burke. And, for a side that went out of their way last season to get their own rainbow scrunchies during the Pride celebrations to actually, celebrate Pride. On one hand, yes, as the club's backing up their support with a special kit, but then to only give the players one kit, which is then getting sent off for auction, like the players don't get any. Like if the players wanted the memento for that game, they've got to pay to get their own kit done. Like I mean, that's it just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, no, same. And especially for the Sydney players who probably would want the memento of winning this fourth game of what's been a pretty subpar season for them. They'd probably want something to remember one of the actual highlights in a very, very long low light. Um, yeah, it's a bit of a shame really. I don't know why they couldn't have done two kits. If they wanted them to be match worn, they could have just given them new kits at halftime. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Doesn't
know.
doesn't make sense.
No,
But not a lot of things do here, do they?
no. That's one thing you can say about the dub is that things absolutely do not make sense in this glorious and wonderful league. Look, we've spoken about it before. Abby Lemon gets up front and likes to get up front. Sets up Princess Sabini here for the winner. I obviously did try to get out what NPL club she's going to. Very tight-lipped on that one. As an NPL aficionado, I do like getting to watch and commentate Abby Lemon. So I'll find out when almost everyone else does. Sadly, but you can't say I didn't try a good old case of investigative journalism, Burke.
No, absolutely not. You gave it your best shot, and sometimes you do get brick walled. Happens to the best of us.
It does indeed. So Sydney 2, Wellington 1. My big storyline of the week for me is whatever happened at Iron Park Fields on Friday night. So Beth Gordon scored us in the 12th minute to get her first dub goal in 2 years. It was 1-0 Canberra at halftime. Power outage at halftime in the second half, if you were watching on the broadcast, looked completely different. Partly because of the sunset, partly because the big screen was no longer powered up, nor was any power on that side of the ground. In terms of like the light stands or anything, seemingly everyone made the decision to let's just keep on the bare essential amount of lights so that it doesn't go out again and we can complete this game. And what followed was absolute chaos. A 6-goal second half. Kiwa Hieda in the 50th minute. Madison ace and then gave Canberra a 2-1 lead back in the 53rd. Catherine Zimmerman levelled it in the 63rd minute. Mary Stanage Floody in the 65th said, no, we're taking it back. Sandra Ibarguen in the 82nd minute said, no, we're level again. And then Chiara Di Domizio put a shot on, went in off Madison Asen for an own goal, 4-3 Western United Burke. I think where I want to start with this game is who had the better goal, Catherine Zimmerman or Mary Stanage Floody? They were both pretty decent goals.
I don't know if I want to pick. They were both absolute bangers, like long range, proper, put your foot right through the ball belters. The whole game was just ridiculous. I watched this one on Paramount because I was not going to drive out to Ironbark Fields. So sorry. So sorry to Ironbark Fields. But yeah, when it got to the end of the first half, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a stupid 1-0 Canberra win. Nothing's going to happen in the second half. And I was very wrong, as you have explained, because I was not expecting that, but that's on me for having an expectation of this league. You should never do that. Learn from my mistakes. Yeah, I don't know. That, yeah, they just went crazy, didn't they?
They did. So Western finally got the win that they've been searching for the last few weeks. It gives them a 4-point gap on Brisbane in 5th place. Look, Canberra, for me, it was very hard done by not to leave Iron Park with at least a point, let alone all three, with how well they played in this game. They've got Sydney this weekend. They're 1 point back of the top 6, Burke. I mean, look, we all know your thoughts on Sydney FC at this point. Canberra has not been a happy hunting ground for the Sky Blues. Surely, if any team was going to break into the 6 at this point, it has to be Canberra.
Yeah, I think so. They're probably, I would say, pretty annoyed that they didn't get anything out of this game against Western United. So they're really going to want to get something off of Sydney. So I can imagine they'll be coming out hard and firing to get all 3 points. I don't know if Sydney will want to back up their win with another. But yeah, I guess it'll end up being a case of who wants it more.
I mean, I can imagine everyone wants it more, but there's a reason
But who
that the
wants
games are
it?
played on grass.
Who wants it the morest? Who wants it the morest?
Who wants it more, indeed? I mean, look, I'm hoping to be down in Canberra for this one this weekend. I think that's going to be a very good contest. Canberra are having their home pride celebration, which is the only reason I'm considering making a 3-hour drive to McKellar Park. I don't want anyone to think that it's because I'm going down for the football. No. If I'm there, it's because I want to be queer, and I want to be queer with all of my people. On the Western United side of things, as I said, they finally get the win they've been after for a few weeks now. They've got that gap. Can Western United use this as the point to sort of solidify their place in the top 4 over the next few weeks, Burke, and not only get that home final, but, we've spoken about Jeff Hopkins just knowing when to get his sides in form, and it's usually around like a month ago in the season where they just dominate the rest of the competition. Does Cat Smith? Oh, let me ask the question this way: can Cat Smith do the same thing with Western United?
I think she needs to. I think she has to. I mean, otherwise, they're not gonna have a very nice end to their season. But it's definitely very insane that Western United are sitting 4th on the table with a goal difference of -7. The silliness continues.
And I don't want to pin that directly on 2 games, but we can directly pin that on 2 games: an 8-2 loss to Brisbane Roar and a 5-1 loss to Melbourne City. I mean, it's just
That'll do it.
absolutely insane indeed. Speaking of Melbourne City 4, Adelaide United 3, in very wet conditions out at Casey Fields on Sunday afternoon. Burke, you're obviously a Melburnian. Just how wet was it in Victoria on Sunday afternoon?
That weather was appalling. I was disgusted. I was, for once in my life, quite happy to have been at work because my work is indoors. And also, there are no windows, so I couldn't actually see any of it. But yeah, it was disgusting. Props to anyone who went out to see that one at Casey, because if I had have been free, certainly would not have done that.
I mean, for those that did turn out, they were certainly treated to quite the show. Holly McNamara with a hat trick, Latia Leon own goal for Melbourne City's 4 goals. Ella Tonkin, Erin Healy, and Zoe Toland getting on the score sheet for Adelaide. Zoe Toland picking up her first dub goal. Burke. Look, Adelaide made City work for this one late, but they're now 19 straight undefeated history makers in the A-League women. The previous best was 18. Canberra United, Brisbane Roar, and Melbourne City, both all 3 together holding the record for 18. But City now out on top by themselves.
Yeah, good for them, honestly. It's been like it's crazy to think that you can go 19 games without a loss, and it's even more like considering the Women's Champions League as well. Nobody wants to beat them, it seems. Or if they are beating them, they don't want to stay beating them. Don't know why that is. Don't know why that is.
It's just something more to complain about. Everyone knows we all love to complain. Yeah, as you said, so including the Women's Champions League group stage, it's 22 undefeated in total. Chance to make that 23 straight this weekend in all competitions for Melbourne City when they face Taichung Blue Whale, 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon at the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium, Amy Park, as a sponsor name, obviously. Still plenty of tickets available for that one, starting at just $10 for kids, $15 for adults. Head to Ticket Tech to get tickets for that one if you're in Melbourne. Go out, make it a show. First Asian Women's Champions League game on Australian soil. I'm absolutely devastated that I can't be there, but I will be tuning in from whatever ground I have commentary commitments at this weekend. I still don't know which ground that is. I have it written down somewhere. I just don't know where, but I know I have a 5 p.m. kickoff, so I'll be watching that game online. And as I said, if you're in Melbourne, get to the game. If you're not, tune in. It promises to be a good one. On the Adelaide side of things, Burke, Izzy Hodgson returns for the first time in nearly a year, 352 days out of action. How good is it to see one of the Dub stalwarts back in action?
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, she's been out for a very, very long time. I actually watched the video that Adelaide posted about her return, and that injury was crazy. The way she spoke about it, she was like, "Yeah, someone stepped on me. Someone put their foot through me." And then when you watch the video, she's like, "Yeah, we realized when we were watching it, nobody touched her. Like it was just it was a completely non-contact injury, which is so crazy. The human body is stupid. Can you
It
imagine
is.
like you just step, you take a step and suddenly your entire career kind of hangs in the balance. Ridiculous. Anyway, very glad to see her back on the pitch where she belongs. And yeah, I'm really excited to see more of her, hopefully, in these last few weeks of the season and probably in finals, considering the way Adelaide is going.
Yep, so Adelaide, third place, 36 points, two behind Melbourne Victory. This loss makes it a 7-point gap to Melbourne City at the top. So Premiership is probably out of the equation, you would say, bar some kind of miracle run by Adelaide and collapse in form by Melbourne City. But they do play Melbourne Victory, rounding out the seasons. I don't think that game is this week. I should know whether or not this game is this week. No, it's not. It's in the next couple of weeks. Can Adelaide do enough to get into second and earn themselves the week off and choice of venue for the first leg of the semi-final? Keeping in mind, Melbourne Victory do have a game in hand because of that postponement against the Wanderers back.
Yeah, they're gonna have to. I mean, the most important one, I think, really is going to be that they have to beat Victory themselves to do that. And considering just how close they got to City, I think they can do it. I think they can do it.
I mean, I think they can. Will they? Is another question. They lost to Melbourne Victory earlier this year at Adelaide. I believe that was round one, off the top of my head. It was a very close one there. So hopefully for Adelaide they can do it. It would be great to see them, sort of continue to do well, and hopefully their fans come out and support them, which would be all the merrier to see. I'll head to Gosford now. Back to Friday night. Central Coast Mariners 3, Perth Glory 3. This was another 1-0 game at halftime. Burke, 5 goals second half. Jess Nash scored her first of the season in the 19th minute. Sarah O'Donoghue with a brace in the 49th and the 56th minutes. Annalise Rasmussen in the 62nd. Tiana Fuller in the 70th to give the Mariners a 3-2 lead. And then Tijan McKenna in the 93rd to level it late for the Glory. I thought this game was full of quality defense, despite it being a 3-3 scoreline. But then, if you actually watch the game, you'd see that it probably should have ended 5-5, Burke.
Yeah, probably. I think it was, yeah, it was a really interesting contest. I didn't see too much of this one because I was watching the other game that was on at this time, which was Western United Canberra. But from what I did see, it looked crazy. The Jess Nash goal was ridiculous. The way the ball was just like they just couldn't clear it and just ended up falling to her in exactly the right position for her to score. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the Glory very unlucky not to have left Gosford with all 3 points. That being said, I'm sure if you're a Mariners supporter or part of the Mariners coaching staff, you would say that they were very lucky to leave with a point. This game was absolute bonkers. Mariners still inside the 6 now. They get that point. They've been, much like Western United and all the other teams in and around that top 6, have sort of been on slides in recent weeks. They've picked up a point here. Obviously, a point is not enough for the Mariners, but they've got Wellington this week. Surely the fact that they've scored 3 goals here should give them some confidence as they head across the Distaporoa Park.
Yeah, it should. It better. I mean, because they need it. They can't really afford to not take 3 points away from this next game. But as I was saying before, on Wellington's side, they're really good at Porirua. So yeah, Central Coast are going to have to bring their A game. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be a rough ride for them.
On the Glory side of things, they welcomed the Wanderers to the Sam Kerr Football Centre on Saturday night. Again, I felt they probably should have had all 3 points in this game. They'll be very unlucky to have left with one, despite the fact they had to come back late to do it. Look, they're 6 points outside of the top 6. They've got 4 games to play. They have a reasonably easy. They have a moderate strength schedule, potentially an easy one, depending on what Melbourne City do in that last week of the season. I mean, we seem to have this discussion every week, Burke, but it still seems relevant. Can they do it?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like they want to, given the fight that they showed against Central Coast, but yeah, I guess it remains to be seen.
Well, you'll have to keep tuning into Perth Glory games to see if they can do it. No Kelly Brown this week. She was available for selection, didn't end up featuring in the matchday squad, which, maybe, without, being a doctor or anything like that, I'm guessing maybe she's just had a bit of a niggle after, she went down a couple of times last week, and we discussed this on last week's episode of the podcast, so hopefully all is okay there because if the Glory are to make finals, they really need Kelly Brown up top. Last game of the round was Brisbane Roar 2, Newcastle Jets 3. Tamika Yallop with a brace inside 20 minutes. Emma Dundas in the 17th. Devon Jackson in the 49th. And Lauren Allen in the 95th minute, Burke. Given what's been going on in southeast Queensland, you wouldn't have known that there'd been a cyclone looking at the way Perry Park was just near flawless for this game.
Yeah, I was fully expecting to hear that this game would also end up being postponed. So really great that they were able to get this one on and get it done. Didn't look too affected, the pitch, even though it most likely was underwater at some point. So pulled up really well. Unfortunately, Brisbane didn't do the same. So Meeks has now gone to second place all-time scorer in the league, ahead of Sam Kerr and well behind Michelle Heyman, as everyone is. And Lauren Allen also becomes the Jets' all-time leading scorer as well. So lots of records broken in this game. I think, I think, uh, like most of these games, or quite a few of these games, Brisbane were unlucky not to get a point out of it. I don't know. It seems like everyone just wants to score a goal at the last moment possible this week. Like they were like, nah, we'll make them wait. Like we'll make sure that, and like if anyone leaves early or if anyone decides to stop watching early, sucks to be them because we're playing this game till the very end. Which, yeah, you don't see it that often, and you definitely don't see it like what, 3 times, 4 times in a round. Like 4 of these games had someone scoring at like the 90th minute or later.
It's absolutely insane.
What?
Like I am always someone who, ever since I was a kid, anytime I go to sporting events, it's always I used to go to rugby league quite a lot with family, and it'd be like a couple of minutes ago. All right, let's go, and it's just kind of like, but there's still 2 minutes to go. Why would we leave? We've got to beat traffic to get out of the car park, but then of course everyone else has the same idea. And I remember, like there was one game where the West Tigers were they ended up scoring in like the last 10 seconds to sort of keep the game alive essentially, and like we're already halfway to the parking lot, and it's just kind of like why are we leaving? Like I couldn't understand it, and I don't understand now why people leave early, because like yes, okay, as you said, it's a very rare occurrence for 4 very late goals in a round, but like that's the beauty of sport. It can happen at any time, Burke.
Yeah, it can, and this round it really, really did. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous indeed. On the Brisbane Roar side of things, Burke, we've talked about their drop off in form, a lot of injuries. I spoke to Alex Smith after the Sydney FC game a couple of weeks ago. We played that here on the podcast for you. I mean, they're still inside the top 6 in part because every other side around them has failed to do anything with their games. But can Brisbane hold on to a top 6 spot, or like let's have 4 games to go? Are they just destined to falling out of the top 6 at this point? Because surely someone has to win a game.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think. Like 2 months ago, we were like, yeah, Brisbane are the ones that are gonna be taking it to Melbourne City, and now we're here. Like, are Brisbane even gonna make it? Are Brisbane gonna make it? I think if well, they've got Momo back, but Tamika Yallop had to exit this game a bit early because she copped an injury. It looked like something happening with one of her ankles. They've still got Leah Varley out. If they could get Varley back in and they haven't lost Meeks to like a serious injury, I think that definitely is an encouraging sign for them staying in the top 6. But yeah, I mean, it looks they're on very shaky ground right now, Brisbane. And I'd like to see them because it'd be a reflection of how well their season had started, I guess. But I mean, yeah, if you're not up to scratch at the end of it, do you really deserve the place in the finals?
Yeah, so the advantage for Brisbane is they have a game in hand compared to all the other sides around them. The bad news is that game in hand is against Melbourne City, Burke. So
Yeah,
it's that might not be a good
yeah.
one. Their schedule to round out their remaining 5 games is away to Adelaide on Sunday afternoon, which they then have to back up with a home game against Melbourne City on Wednesday afternoon. Then it's away to the Mariners, international break home versus Western Sydney, away to victory to close out the season. I don't like. I really don't like Brisbane's chances of staying inside the six, Burke.
Yeah, maybe not. Which is unreal considering how they were just absolutely flying at the start of the season.
It's amazing
Any
how
anything can happen here, and anything does happen here.
it's just amazing how injuries how injuries can just completely derail a season. It's just I feel for Brisbane. Like based as you said, based on their first half of the season form, they absolutely deserve to be in the finals. Maybe not so much their second half season form, but they've got the games to do it, and they're in the position to do it. Unlike the Newcastle Jets, who 5 points back of the top six, but their run home is the three Melbourne teams and an F3 derby, Burke, with their 4 games remaining. Can we put the line through the Jets, or do we have to wait until they're mathematically eliminated?
I think we have to say goodbye to the Jets. It's been real. Like, it's been nice knowing you, but good luck and Godspeed. We will see you next year. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not prepared to put the line through the Jets just yet, and
You're better than I am.
no, it's a very selfish reason for me. It's because I will wait until they're mathematically eliminated, in part because they're one of the few teams in the competition who has decided to do some sort of pride kit. And so I think that is my benefit of the doubt as a queer person, that maybe they can get the gay magic going. The ahead of their game against Western United. That could be 3 points there. I think they can go to Melbourne and pinch a point. And then Melbourne City and the Mariners. I mean, look, everyone's losing to City at this point, so I don't think anything's going to happen there. But I mean, they can certainly. I know they didn't last time, but they can certainly nab something out of the derby, particularly if they have a final spot to play for on the final day of the season. So, look, I'm prepared to see this through to the end with the Jets. But that is the A-League's wrap for this week in the dub. Burke, do you have any hot takes from the NPL this week?
Nothing yet. I didn't actually get out to see any of the games in person. I've seen a few clips here and there. There was an absolute belter of a goal scored for Boleyn, which was crazy. I think Kieran Yap posted about it on his socials, so if you can see it, I would recommend seeing it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out there, though, and getting to some games.
Look, for me, my NPL hot take this week is the fact that it was too damn hot in Sydney to be playing NPL. So we had one game postponed because it was due to kick off at 3 p.m. Saturday, which is the time slot that NWS Spirit, which is affectionate. So they play at a ground called Christie Park, also affectionately known as the Arctic Circle. So the irony of a game being postponed because of heat at the Arctic Circle is certainly something.
That's fun. That's a new one for the Arctic Circle. Climate change comes for all of us.
It does. Even the coldest grounds in New South Wales are not immune to climate change. And then we had nearly every game on every first grade game on Sunday pushed back 2 hours. Bar the game that I commentated, which was RPL Leichhardt 2, Gladesville Ravens 1. And the reason that one wasn't postponed was because the under-23s were scheduled to kick off at 7 p.m, whereas usually the under-23s kick off before the first grade do. So all those games were pushed back to 5 p.m. starts at all the other venues, with the first grades getting pushed back to 7 p.m. And let me tell you, it felt every bit of a game that kicked off in 36-degree heat. 2 drinks breaks. I was struggling in the little scaffolding position that they have at Lambert Park, which is synthetic pitch as well, by the way.
Oh.
So I don't know how the players managed to play such a high quality game of football, because it was a high quality game of football. But yeah, so that's my hot take from the NPL this week, is that it was too damn hot to be playing the NPL this week. Shout out to the Western Sydney Wanderers, who got their first win as an NPL side, beating Sydney Olympic 5-1 after going down to Manly United 5-1 the week before. So the Wanderers seemingly both loving and hating these 5-1 scorelines to start life in the NPL, New South Wales Women's, for the Wanderers. Melbourne Victory and Newcastle Burke on Friday night. Wellington and Central Coast Mariners, that one's at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 4 p.m. local time on Saturday. Canberra and Sydney at 4 p.m. local time. Perth and the Wanderers at 5 p.m. local, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And then just the lone league game on Sunday is Adelaide and Brisbane at 4 p.m. local time, 4:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Burke, any of those games going to catch your fancy this week?
Probably the Canberra-Sydney game, because that one's... Oh, wait, no, I'm reading the wrong line. Not Canberra-Sydney. Wellington, Central Coast. My bad. But I think both of those will be good, actually. I think Wellington, Central Coast will be more interesting in terms of what it does for the teams trying to, make that final cut. And I think the Canberra-Sydney game will be interesting as well in terms of whether Canberra can bounce back from their loss and if Sydney can keep their wins going. Yeah, those two will be good, I think. All of them will be good, but I think those two are the most interesting.
For me, I think Perth and Wanderers stands out as the game to watch in the league. Can Perth keep the run of form going? Wanderers week off because of the game postponement. Still no word yet on when that game is going to be played. But yeah, I think if Perth are going to do anything, 3 points against the Wanderers are an absolute must. They've got the game at home. I absolutely think that they can do something good with it. We've already talked about City versus Taichung in the Asian Champions League, 3 p.m. on Sunday. Get out to it if you can. In other news, Burke, we've talked about it already. The Pride celebrations kicked off this week, running over 3 weeks in the A-League Women, 2 weeks in the A-League Men because of the international breaks. I don't know what your thoughts are on what took place in terms of celebrations, but I mean, what stood out to me like a sore thumb was the fact that none of the away sides did anything. It was all the home sides. I think there might have been a couple of armbands worn by the away teams, like the Pride armbands, but we've seen all of those before in the league. It's not like that's a new thing. I understand in terms of like a kit and stuff like that, socks and whatnot. It can be quite hard to manage, but I mean, talked about it earlier in the Sydney game with Abby Lemon. The side wore rainbow scrunchies last year. Like, it surely isn't that hard to do something, whether it be tape or whatever. So I thought that was quite disappointing, Burke.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's a bit poor form from everyone. But it also just feels like it feels lazy. And like, I do understand wanting to like save your stuff for your like home game, because it is happening over like 3 weeks. So I'm assuming pretty much every team will get like a home game Pride celebration thing. So I do get that, but it doesn't hurt to do something, even if it is as simple as the rainbow scrunchies that Sydney were doing last year. And I do think that, no offense, because I get it. I know why they've done it, but low-key, those Mariners socks were ugly. And so were the Western United ones. They just were not nice to look at.
Yeah,
Do better, please.
The socks are an interesting one
They're
because
so bad.
So I've talked about this with a number of different people. Now, full disclosure, for those who haven't seen me in person, I am quite tall, so I don't necessarily have this problem. But a lot of the brands that make the rainbow socks, particularly the ones that are suitable for professional footballers, they only come in the one size, and that size is tall. And so a lot of players end up rolling them down. It's a comfort thing for them, all those sorts of things. And so you get this mismatch look where some players have got the full thing on display, other players have only half of the rainbow on display at the top of the sock. Some have none of it on display. And look, it stands out on the broadcast. It absolutely does. But there's no uniformity or consistency with them. And so, on one hand, great, you're doing something. On the other hand, are you really doing something when not everyone's able to look the same with it, Burke?
Yeah. They don't look good. Do something else. Anything else. Please stop making me look at them. They're so bad.
Well, look, one of the sides that did do something else that we already talked about was Sydney FC. So they had a jersey. All five home sides had corner flags. And in some cases, all they had was corner flags. Looking at you, Brisbane and Melbourne City. Mariners and Western United had socks and corner flag.
I think Brisbane did have something going on before the game where they had fans and stuff holding flags on the pitch for them to walk out to. So they did have that as well. So
that must have been something I missed on the broadcast. I know Sydney FC did a little bit of that as well. They also had a pre-match ticketed function which featured speakers such as Sam Lewis. So they did a little bit, but overall, look, I always hate having these sorts of discussions, Burke, but if you're gonna do something, I just want it to be better.
yeah.
I don't think I can say anything more on that. In other news, Day Leagues put out a press release today saying that Paramount Australia and SportsPick Live have announced an exciting new partnership designed to grow football viewership in venues across Australia, with the partnership to bring top-tier football action to pubs, clubs, casinos, accommodation facilities, retail venues, and gyms across Australia. Where am I on my thing? Managing Director of Entain Venues, Mark Sturdy, said that they were excited to be bringing Paramount Australia. They were excited to be partnering with Paramount Australia to bring Australian football into venues nationwide, championing both leagues with equal passion. SportsPick Live being part of the Entain Venues group. By aligning Paramount, A-Leagues, Matildas, and Socceroos under the SportsPick Live umbrella, we're creating a powerhouse for sports entertainment for the commercial market. This is just the kick-off. Our vision has become the undisputed home of sport for venues across Australia. Lachlan Roach is the Vice President and Partner Management and Business Development Streaming at Paramount Australia, said the SportsPick Live business is pioneering commercial venue distribution. And Paramount Australia's inaugural and multi-year partnership is pivotal in delivering and making available our broadcast of all Australian football matches to fans across the country. Look, we're a number of years into the Paramount Plus deal, Burke, between the A-Leagues and the broadcaster. It's a start, and it's better late than never, but it feels like this is something that should have been done from day one.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to say. Where was this in round one? Why wasn't I able to go to dub in the pub with my friends? I would love to do dub in the pub. My friends would hate it, but I would make them go. It would be so fun. I would love to yell at a screen like some random white man gets to every weekend. I want that for myself. I should be allowed to do that. I should have been allowed to do that before this. Unbelievable. Though I'm glad we have it now, and I'm glad it is at least in time for finals, so.
Yeah, so a number of venues across New South Wales, Victoria, a handful in South Australia, and only one in Queensland, which is in Cairns. So, the press release did say that there are more to come. Yeah, most of the venues at the moment, in fact, over half of the venues on the initial list are in New South Wales. Um, you know, very big venues, the likes of Club Marconi, Liverpool Catholic Club, Reesby Workers Club, um, Bella Vista Hotel, St John's Park Bowling Club. Um, so there's a lot of good venues there. A couple in the Hunter region as well. So hopefully this kicks off into something much bigger, and that we can see a lot more of the A leagues in venues, which is something that we haven't had a lot of since the previous broadcast deal expired, or with Fox Sports. So hopefully we get to see a lot more of that. Just have one listener question this week from Almost Clutch on Blue Sky, who wants to know our early All Stars predictions. So there's no clarification yet as to whether there will be an All Stars game this year. There were reports filtering out last week that Liverpool are on their way to the MCG at the end of the season
but
to play
they don't like their women's team, so
to play the to play them in the men's edition of the All Stars contest. Look, the way I think I want to tackle this question, Burke, is rather than come up with an entire 11, I think we'll go one striker, one midfielder, one defender, because I think we can both agree the goalkeeper is Claudia Jenkins, right?
yeah, of course. Who else would it be?
Exactly. So, your defender.
My defender. Maybe Jess Nash. I think she's had a really strong season in the Central Coast.
All right, so we've got our centre-back pairing because I'm going with Aussie Kayla. I think that she should be top of the list. Your midfielder, Burke.
Can I say, like, at prime Momo Hayashi?
Great minds think alike, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, if Momo Hayashi gets back to full fitness by the end of the season, she's it. Like,
she's
that
one.
is the midfield.
It's a singular Momo Hayashi.
Yes. And then your forward, Burke.
Holly McNamara. That's no question.
Okay, just because I have to be different this time around, I'm going to say, not Tamika Yallop. Why was I going to say Tamika Yallop?
That wouldn't be a bad shout, considering she has scored quite a few times.
M. Gilnick is who I was going to say.
Good shout. Good shout.
So Clutch, there you go. Those are our early All-Stars predictions. We picked one from each position for you. So we hope you enjoy that. Claudia Jenkins has also been in the news lately, Burke. She declared allegiances to the Football Ferns last week, and then 24 hours later was selected in her first Football Ferns squad. I wonder if she knew anything when she just decided to randomly declare her allegiance.
I wonder. It's definitely food for thought. I might have to think about this one for a while before I can decide if she knew or not. Very puzzling.
It is. So Claudia Jenkins, New Zealand is set to play a game against Taiwan in the April window. They will play a friendly as well during that window against Taiwan. So we might get a first Football Ferns cap for Claudia Jenkins, which, as we just talked about, Burke, I mean, she's having a fantastic season, and this is well-deserved call-up, and if she gets a debut, it would be well-deserved as well.
Yeah, definitely. She's had an unreal season, so
hopefully, she gets the chance to do so. And hopefully next week we have a Matilda squad to discuss. That for the April window. It said if it doesn't occur this week, it should be next week, somewhere around there. So hopefully by the time we bring you the episode next week, we'll have been able to do so. But that will do for this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Round Ball Australia podcast network. Burke, thank you as always.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
My name is Poletti. We'll be back next week on Wednesday, same as always. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.